to Aunties Talk Sports.
I'm KB. The courts of Indiana raised me, Detroit pays me, and I know ball both on and off the court, so don't underestimate me.
And I'm Jen. Financial statements, I know how to read them. Fantasy sports, I know how to play them. Tough calls, I know how to make them.
Whether you're heading home, headed to happy hour, or just getting ready for another weekend of sports,
we've got you covered with the biggest stories, the hottest takes, plenty of laughs, and just enough friendly debate.
From Detroit to the national stage, if it's worth talking about, we talking about it.
So grab your favorite drink,
pull up a chair,
because this is your sports happy hour.
2 aunties,
2 mics,
all game.
Hey KB, looks like you're
Jen.
back in your. Hey, it looks like you're back in your normal stomping grounds. You back. I saw your video you posted the other day. Content.
Yeah, I'm trying to be like you. Yes, we made it home. Let's see, on early Friday, because our flight out of Philly was definitely delayed several times. But I thought about you. I was actually looking for some Philly merch while we were in the airport. They didn't really have anything that was really cute enough, but we got home, and then Karis came home on Saturday. So yeah, we're happy to be home, but it took me about 2 days to fully recuperate. Mama was tired.
Yeah, that's the difference between traveling as an auntie versus traveling when you're a young whippersnapper.
That's right. And that's the reality when you are auntie and you have young kids. I tell everybody I have a later in life baby. So we came home and she was like, What we doing this weekend? I'm putting my feet up. I'm resting. But
hey.
Yeah, it was a great trip, from a sports perspective. My oldest had 2 personal bests. So personal best in shot put, personal best in discus, really putting her where she needs to be going into her junior year as far as recruiting standards for some of the colleges that she's interested in. But the highlight was she got to throw with Sarah Mitten, who is a world champion, an Olympian representing Canada. So baby was nervous. But I was like, I love you, you my girl, but you is not about to be Sarah Mitten. So I was like, just relax and be happy.
No pressure.
To be right. No pressure.
No pressure. Just,
yeah. But it was funny. Good. Yeah, it was funny. Just quickly, it was really funny because they hosted the competition on Instagram, IG Live. So I got to see her live throwing, and I shared it with my family in Indiana. So her real life aunties joined the live, and it was almost a disaster. Okay, my sister was texting me like, why ain't they cheering for my baby like they cheering for all the other people? And so I'm about to say something on the live. I was like, please do not. Please do not.
I wish I had known about it. I would have joined.
Yeah. And she was in there like, using her little family nickname, Baby K. It's okay, Baby K. It's okay. You'll do better next time. So it was like peak auntie energy on this live. And she was so embarrassed, but she was, happy for the support. But it was that topped it off. But yeah, I wasn't going to sit outside for 12 hours. I needed to come home.
Yeah, I wish I had known about it. I would have gotten up. But I'm happy that the travels were safe and that she did well and got to experience it. And you're back in the swing of things. Well, getting in the swing of things. Probably getting ready for school.
That's right, getting ready for school. But, it was also a learning lesson for her. I was really a little nervous and just kind of teary-eyed about leaving her there one day by herself for us to come back. But I believe that kids need that, teenagers need that. Like they need to be able to navigate on their own, especially as they start to, get toward, approaching senior year. And I think I shared with you over the weekend, she didn't know how to check out of her room. And so she just left all her stuff in the hotel room and decided I'm just gonna stay another night. And the hotel was blowing me up. Like, I thought y'all was supposed to be out of here earlier today. You're still so much stuff in the room. So I said, you didn't know that you needed to tell the people at the front desk that you was gonna extend your reservation? I forgot about that.
They don't
So
have to do anything. They
that's
got
right.
you as their brain.
So that that kind of was a jolt back to reality. It was like I was sad to leave her, but I was like, ultimately she needed that so that she could learn something on her own. So I have to remind that as we go into junior and then senior year next year.
Wow. Time is flying. I remember when she was first born and you brought her up to the office, that baby picture. So it's great to see them grow up.
Yes.
Yeah. I was all in all the drama over the past week. There was a lot of sports drama, and I wanted to dive into some of that. Just talk about some of the stuff. There's some stuff that we haven't talked about, and it's still floating out there. We wouldn't be aunties if we didn't talk about it. Okay. We're going to talk about it once, and we're going to hopefully not have to talk about it anymore because it's really a non-story. And what I'm talking about is the transgender issue in the WNBA and Sophie Cunningham trying to be relevant, Mega Barbie trying to be relevant right now. I sure hope this is her last year. This was, I'm ready for her to go. She's more about the headlines than anything else. And she had quite a few headlines this over the past couple of weeks. Let's just start with the transgender debate. And, what is it's almost a non-issue because you have a very, very, very small population of athletes that identify as transgender trying to play sports. Okay. And her statement about men shouldn't be in women's sports, I stand on that. Okay, that's fine. But why are we even talking about that? It's not even relevant. It's not even an issue. The leagues can address it, so that it doesn't become an issue if they're proactive. But, she's in the WNBA, and the WNBA is reactive to everything. So now you have two male players. So she said her controversial take. There were protests outside of at least a couple of games where she was at the arena. One of the owners of was it Valkyries or the Portland?
I think it was the Seattle Storm. Yeah.
Oh, Seattle Storm. One of the owners got into it with one of the people, with a group of the people in the crowd who were supporting Sophie Cunningham. They were considered Sophie Cunningham supporters.
Mm-hmm.
And then she said gave her controversial take, and then left her team, in the press conferences to field these questions that they don't have anything to do with what she's saying. So,
yeah.
They had a prepared statement, like, we're not, we didn't know she said that, and we're not going to address it. Well, you have to address it at some point, because your player is out here saying things that really is just for a click, and we know it's controversial. So you're going to have to address it. You can't run from it. The WNBA needs to address it and be proactive about addressing it. The CBA has left some ambiguity in the language of the agreement, and you have two idiot former NBA players, if you want to even call
role
them
players.
Enes Kanter, Freedom,
bench riders,
and
bench riders.
Yeah, Yeah, and Royce White, who was drafted in the first round and didn't make it very far in his NBA career. I think he played 3 games and played a total of 3 minutes because he has an extreme fear of flying. You know, they both declared for the 2027 WNBA draft, saying that they identify as women. It's become a farce. It's become, you know, just a joke. And, you know, these are real people that we're discussing, but it's really a non-issue because you don't even have, like I said, you don't even have a large population of transgender uh, uh, identifying individuals trying to play in women's sports. And it's a political hot rod, is what it is. It's a MAGA political hot rod, and that's why we even have the conversation. So
Yeah. I mean, I think two things that I want to say personally, you know, was it 20 years ago? 20 years ago, I worked at the University of Michigan in the School of Social Work, and that was my first kind of interaction with policies related to trans men and women on campus. So the School of Social Work at U of M is a national leader in this. We had, you know, family restrooms or unisex restrooms in Ann Arbor 20 years ago. We had trans women using our restroom. And it wasn't, I mean, you know, it was kind of like, oh, all right, this is different. But there was never an issue of safety. There's never an issue of discomfort. And I've been fortunate enough to have, you know, a person in my life who is a trans man. And I knew them before when they were identifying as a woman. And, a part of
same
my
here.
process, yeah, was just really educating myself on the process, but more importantly, looking beyond their gender identity and acknowledging who the person was in their heart and in their soul. And that never changed. So I think the thing that really upsets me about this is that people are talking about real people with real lives, with emotions, with families. And for a lot of people, it's something that is very abstract. As you said, this is not an issue in women's sports, but it's become a political hot topic because it's a way to you know, instill fear in people. It's a way to galvanize people to vote toward a certain political party. But these are the facts. Trans people are estimated to make up only 1 to 2% of the entire population in the United States. So we're not even approaching 5%. Trans people make up less than 0.002% of US college athletes. Approximately 10 people out of 500,000 identify as trans and play college sports. And even fewer recent Olympians, 0.001%, identify as trans. So this is not an issue. It's not an issue.
Right.
They are not, trans women are not flooding into sports and taking opportunities away from cisgendered youth or cisgendered women who are interested in playing sports. It's just not happening. But this is the real issue. We know the WNBA has a lot of women of color, Black women specifically, who identify as queer. This, to me, is another attempt to try to dehumanize the Black women who play within the WNBA by assuming, right, that these are trans women, questioning their femininity, questioning their sexual identity, and kind of their self-expression. So my whole thing is Royce and Enos are now are you saying you're a trans woman? Let's start the hormones. Let's you know, let's go through the entire process, and then perhaps you can get on the field, get on the
And
court.
that's the whole thing. That's the whole thing. You mentioned that you have, you know, someone in your life, and I do as well. And what I did, because I was ignorant, I asked questions. I said, look, I'm close enough to you. I need to ask questions because there's things that I don't know. And also I did research like about this transgender athlete before a certain age, if they start the and there are rules, I believe, to this that they have to be have started the transition by a certain age, because it diminishes the male
The
hormones,
testosterone, yes.
the testosterone levels. But if they're above a certain age, then it may be less effective or something like that. So we're not even talking about, and there are rules in place for transgender athletes or whatever, but it's not an issue. Hasn't been an issue. It's a way to wag the dog, and the dog whistle too. It's a dog whistle, and so I'm tired of it. Sophie Cunningham has been in the news for all the wrong things, and she is bringing up something. She was on a podcast and said it. So now she's in the news for that now. Yeah, she's in the news because of the DiJonai Carrington issue. So they played over the weekend. Tough game, Chicago against Indiana.
History, prior.
And they have a history. And DiJonai Carrington, if you know anything about her, she's a relentless defender, right? Sophie Cunningham was running down the lane for a layup, and DiJonai Carrington was trailing her. So she came from behind, she went for the ball, but she didn't get ball. She got all her head.
Yeah.
Rightfully so, she was assessed flagrant 2, and she was ejected from the game. Rightfully so. But when Sophie Cunningham got up, she retaliated, which she should have also gotten ejected, because a standard had been set in a game where Sophie Cunningham mugged J.C. Sheldon because she was taking up. She was intentionally
right. She went after
her. Defending, quote unquote, defending Kayla Clark. And then she was looked at, oh, she's the enforcer. Go, Sophie. Yeah. She got ejected. But guess who else got ejected? J.C. Sheldon got ejected for retaliating.
Yes.
So as soon as DiJonai Carrington got ejected, she went to the locker room and typed in on all caps, white privilege at Indiana Fever. And everybody's like, what do you mean white privilege? You should have gotten ejected. The point was not that she got ejected. It was that Sophie Cunningham retaliated and she didn't get ejected. And, she was involved in another incident where the person that retaliated against her got ejected. That was what the white privilege was. The same rule that applied to someone else did not apply to her, even though they're both white. Sophie Cunningham got a good whistle and a good non-whistle, and that was what that was about. But anybody that says that DiJonai Carrington was not going for the ball is an idiot, and I'll say it here, and
you can quote me. You can quote her. You got something to say at her.
She was going for the ball. She missed terribly. That was not the issue. That's never been the issue. Everybody knows that. And she was ejected, rightfully so.
Yeah. I mean, and what I caught was, for those people who are listening, many people may know, some may not know, that after a game, usually the refs will compile notes about different calls, especially leading into the end of regulation, or just, things that people may want further answers to. And I think this highlights not only the privilege associated with the non-foul, but also the inconsistency that we are seeing from the WNBA refs. And so one of the questions was, why wasn't Sophie Cunningham given a tech or a foul for her response? Right. And the refs said because they felt that her response was commensurate with the foul that she received. And so people were like, okay, so is this precedent? So this means that if you foul me hard, I can retaliate hard, but I don't get a foul. I don't get a tech for that.
Exactly.
But I think what is worth mentioning is that nobody knows Sophie Cunningham for anything that she does on the court that is productive. People know her, one, because of the alleged affair that she was accused of having with the Mercury CEO. People know her for taking up for Caitlin Clark, and people know her now for taking on this campaign related to trans women in sports. The reality is, all of this controversy is making Sophie Cunningham more popular and more bankable than she ever was for her production on the court. And so I saw another a content person online said that this is her grift, that she sees basically
Absolutely.
she's not
This is her post career.
Yeah, her post career, they
So
were like, she's probably not going to come back next year. She's probably going to get a podcast. She's going to go on, some sort of tour, right? And so, what is hilarious to me is that she's inconsistent. You do all of this, and then last week she was telling the media, well, I wish that you all would just report on what's going on the game. Do you want it?
right.
She wants it both ways. She is the
No.
quintessential throw the rock and hide your hand. That's who
Yeah.
she is.
Yeah. Every few games she'll come out and pop a few threes and get the crowd going and all that, but she's not very productive at all. She's irrelevant, but they want her to be relevant so bad. MAGA
That's
Barbie.
right.
There's a reason her name is MAGA Barbie.
That's right. And let's not forget that horrible spread in Sports Illustrated that came out. And look, the women of color didn't say anything about it, but she was getting fried by her own people behind those pictures. But this is gonna be a little bit of a joke, but over the course of my life, I have had several close female friends who are white. And one of the things that I have learned from them in particular is what they called white girl one-on-one. And I never forget when one of them set me down and I was explaining something that I was dealing with at work, where, I felt like there was a lot of animosity coming from a coworker. I was going out of my way to try to make this person feel welcome. I was apologizing, but again, I was still being characterized as the person who was hurting her feelings, who was making her feel insecure. She said that she said that I was so intimidating, and I was racking my brain trying to figure out, one, what I did, but then what I could do better. And one of my close white friends, shout out to Eleanor and Sarah, because both of them said this to me. They said, oh, you white girl, you getting white girls. And I was like, what is getting white girl? And they were like, oh, this is when you are passive aggressive, you use tears, you use anything that you can do to assume an upper hand in a situation, but do it in a passive aggressive manner so people never accuse you of being aggressive. And I, like, the top blew off of my head. I was like, what? Like, y'all learned this? And both of them had told me that they were taught this by other women in their family, how to wreak havoc, how to exact stress and war, and just how, keep interpersonal mess going, but do it in a way so that you always appear innocent. And so they were just like, you getting white, this is white girl one-on-one from a white girl, from white girls. And so they were like, we trying to put you up on game. It's not you. So what you have to do is just kill them with kindness. Smile, be just as passive aggressive, just as fake, smile. Oh, I just love you so much. And they was like, eventually they'll go on about their business. And for me, that was such a transformative moment in my career, because I was stressed. Your girl was stressed. Okay. I was hugging people at work, everything, patting them on the back, wiping tears. And the whole time, that was just their campaign to get what they wanted.
Yeah. Yeah. I've had issues like that where I'm minding my own business and, somebody hating on me or, like, just causing trouble with me and my name, and I'm minding my own business, not even knowing anything. And somebody took up for me, and they got into it, and all of a sudden it was my fault, and I needed to go talk to them. No, I was minding my own business. So I get all that, but and that's I just gave like a snippet of that story because I don't even want to go down that road because no, but yeah, later for Sophie.
Yeah.
I hope this is her last year. I think this is her last year. This was barely her last year because she was acting like all these teams wanted her. Nobody wanted you.
Right. Your
And
production is down. But you know what? I will give a shout out to Coach, Stephanie.
yeah, because she knows
Because
DiJonai.
right, and that's what she said. She did. She took up for DiJonai, and she said, DiJonai is not a dirty player. She's not a dirty player. There's no way that she tried to hurt or to harm Sophie. The other thing I want to say is because I always say it. I grew up in Indiana, and so the coach is a legend in Indiana women's basketball, in Indiana basketball, but she's always been serious about the game. And I think one of the things that I see on her face, because I grew up seeing her at tournaments. She's older than I am, so I never competed against her. But one of the things that I see on her face now more and more is a certain irritation, a certain level of irritation with all of the questions, with all of the controversy, with all of the things. And I don't think that she is going to continue to allow that to happen next year if she's the coach. I think in the off season, you're going to see her have some serious conversations with the players, have some serious conversations with that franchise and say, I'm here to win and I'm here to, put a high quality product that's based on basketball, not based on all of this BS. And so I do think that there will be some changes. And one of those changes, I think, Sophie will not be on the team. And I also think that they gonna pull your girl Cece's chain and tell her to shut her mouth and play ball.
Yeah. She's frustrated, not only for the players, what they're doing on and off the court, that she has to then answer for. Now, she wasn't happy when that DiJonai foul happened because they cut to her talking to the rest. So she was like, she was mad. But because, her player did get mugged, but she knows DiJonai. And so that she's like, no. But not only does she have to defend questions that her players and actions that her players present, and we won't belabor this point too much, but I just wanted to say every other game or every other week, they're saying, get rid of her. Like she's not a good coach. Oh, all of a sudden, Stephanie White's not a good coach. Okay. So the Indiana fans are they're not even fans, first of all. The Indiana, I don't even know what you want to call them. They are ridiculous. They are, they love to go. I figured out they love to go on social media. And if you say one bad, you better not say nothing bad about Caitlin Clark, or you better not. Otherwise, you're an idiot. I was called we were called you black women.
Yeah.
So they are ridiculous. But but I'd rather talk about more favorable stuff. I told you I played fantasy sports. And I know Olivia Miles is your girl. That's my girl. She was doing Olivia Miles things over the weekend. Now she was out there. But yesterday was K-Mac's day. K-Mac is on my team. She's on my fantasy team. Kayla McBride, Kayla McBuckets. She said, she's the quiet, calm. She's the quiet, calm on the Minnesota Lynx basketball team, and she's very steady. So let me just, she had a record 10 3-pointers. She had 43 points. She not only that, she's having a career year. 18.4 points a game, 3.3 rebounds a game, 2.1 assists. She's shooting 42.4% from the 3-point line. In 32 minutes yesterday, she had 43 points. She only had 1 rebound and 1 assist, but She didn't need to. They were feeding her. She was hitting
They were
everything.
feeding her.
She was hitting everything. She was hitting everything. And she's quietly having a career year. And she doesn't look for the spotlight. But I've watched her over the years, and she's just been steady. You know, Minnesota has always had not always, but I love Cheryl Reed. She might be my favorite coach right now. And I love her because she used to be with the Detroit Shock, so I've always followed her. But under Bill Laimbeer. Bill Laimbeer was a great coach, if y'all don't know. So she's under that Bill Laimbeer tutelage. Well, she was with other teams too, but she won championships under Bill. And so I had to give a shout out to K-Mac. McBuckets was, like I said, this year she's been so steady. And I've really watched her game this year, and I'm really happy for her.
Yeah, I see her, right, on social media. I see her in the games, but I wasn't familiar. So I apologize, K-Mac, because I was now. No. But you know how people are saying, like, oh, I apologize because I wasn't familiar with your game, Miss K-Mac. But I saw glimpses of the game, and as much as I love the Aces, I do believe that the Lynx are the front runner to win it all this year. I think everybody, they had their own kind of dynasty, right? And a lot of that was, obviously built on Nafisa, but they added Olivia Miles, and Nafisa being out has allowed Olivia to really develop and to mature as a rookie. And Nafisa told her, right, like, we need you to step up. And so you have that combination. Of course, you have Courtney, who brings the energy and who plays D. And now you have K-Mac, just busting out for 43. I think they're going to be really difficult to beat in the playoffs.
Agreed.
It was exciting to watch. But one thing I'm gonna say, I'm gonna kind of flash back to my Aces. That game with the fever, right? And as much as people were, hating on the Aces, and they don't want to give A'ja Wilson her props, she shut down Caitlin Clark at the end of that game. And what I love about that is on social media, people have dubbed songs on top of that whole that whole play, and it was really like poetry in motion. And what is hilarious is you saw Caitlin Clark try to flop, try to act like she should have got the call, but baby, you ain't about to get the call against A'ja Wilson, the 2 times defensive player of the year, all-star MVP, finals MVP. That was some weak-ish. And you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Couple of things about that game. I loved it. I loved the end. Chelsea Gray, point guard. At the end of regulation, she hit 3 to go into overtime. And then that last play, Caitlin Clark thought that she should have the ball in her hand. Kelsey Mitchell was balling. Kelsey Mitchell should have had the ball. But Caitlin Clark thought she is a turnover machine. What did she have? 8 turnovers that game?
8 turnovers, yeah.
She thought she was going to go up against A'ja Wilson, and she fouled A'ja Wilson. She grabbed her jersey, A'ja, and got the ball from her. Caitlin flopped. And then Caitlin wonders why her back is injured. She threw herself on the ground. What was the story you just said?
Right.
White woman, she threw her, she lofted herself in the air, threw herself on the ground while they threw the ball down the court. Had she gotten her butt up and defended the play, she could have blocked Chelsea Gray, but Chelsie Gray hits the 3 to win the game in overtime.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
It was a great play. That whole, to me, that was an instant classic, right? The Aces coming back, Jackie Young putting on a one-woman show to get them back in the game, A'ja taking over in overtime, and Chelsea had 11 points. That's it. 11 points, but those 11 points made all the difference in the game. But I think what is unforgivable for me, as you said, is Caitlin Clark didn't get back and play any defense. You didn't get back.
Too busy whining.
Too busy whining. And if you see at the end of the game, you see Kelsey Mitchell doubled over. I would say probably completely spent mentally and physically, but I think also emotionally, right? Putting her heart and soul into the game, getting her PhD, staying under the radar. I think with all of the controversy, you haven't heard her say anything one way or the other. She's there, she's focused on the game, and at the end of the day, your quote unquote best player, right, continues to put you all in situations where you're not able to close out the game, not just because of a lack of defense, but also because of high turnover. And I don't know who's in Caitlin's camp. You know, see, I respect her dad. He done told her to shut up a couple times. But in the off season, she really needs to, I think, humble herself and really work on those other aspects of the game. I won't say a name, but she reminds me of a player that I played with back in the day who let all of the hype go to her head, and she never improved her game. Never improved her game. It was everybody else's fault, and she just plateaued. You got to play some D. You got to quit turning over the ball. You got to shut up and play.
Yeah, what happened? Kelsey was spent because Indiana was up by 20?
Mm-hmm.
And the Aces never should have won that game. So they were up by 20. There were some crucial free throws missed at the end, including Caitlin Clark jacking up, bricking two free throws to win the game. So not only had they played a good game against the Aces, it should have never gone to overtime. Indiana should have won it in regulation. So to not be able to hold that lead and then Kelsey missed a couple of Kelsey Mitchell missed a couple of free throws, I think, and then Caitlin Clark missed a couple. But and that was when you talked about the Minnesota Lynx last year, if Napheesa Collier hadn't gotten hurt, I would venture to guess that Minnesota would have been right up there in the running for the championship. If she would have been in the running for MVP, she was having a great year. Minnesota's up there every year.
Yeah,
and they have they're another one of those teams. They don't rebuild, they reload. They had Jessica Shepard and Alana Smith leave the team. They had a couple of bigs leave the team. Nobody thought they were going to be as good and without Napheesa, but so they've proven. But Las Vegas is kind of having a season that looks like last year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm never gonna count them out. But
yeah,
I'm never going to count Minnesota out, and that's from way back when they were winning years ago. So it'll be interesting. We're coming up to the end of the season, and we'll have the World Cup coming up. And people were mad about Kelsey Mitchell not being invited. Kelsey wasn't at the camp, so I know that. I'm no longer surprised that she wasn't going to be on the team because she wasn't at the camp. So it wasn't like she went to the camp and then they didn't select her. So that,
it's also, I mean, she's trying to get her PhD too, right? So people don't know like what the personal decision was behind that. But I think it's also, people were complaining about Chelsea being on the team. People were complaining about Jackie being on the team, and they shut them up, right? You want to know why I'm on the team? Check this out, right? This is what I can do, on the court. But I was just thinking, like, where do you think that the Aces and the Lynx kind of rivalry, where do you think that it compares if you think about some of the comparable rivalries in the NBA? Like Western Conference, Eastern Conference, like, do they remind you of any NBA teams and their intense rivalry?
We have budding rivalry. They're still, I'm trying to figure out what the real rivals are in them because they still want to put the Liberty in, in the mix, and so I I think that they're one of my favorite. I think that they can be in the can they be? Are they both? I don't know. I gotta look at the conferences, but yeah, I love it, but I don't think that I don't know if the Aces can hang with them
this year.
long term.
Yeah, yeah.
But here's the thing: I'm never going to count them out. When you have Asia Wilson, Jackie Young, Chelsea Gray, I'm never going to count them out. But so yeah, I love to see them play. I want to see more of Minnesota and Indiana too. I love seeing Olivia Miles and Kelsey Mitchell going up against each other. So there's a lot of rivalries that I like.
Yeah. I saw
You know,
an interview with Stewie, and they had asked her, well, they asked the Liberty players to describe in one word their rivalry with the Lynx. And so they were saying, competitive, respect. So you're right, they are still really trying to position the Liberty. And, they're a respectable team, but I think they have slowly fallen off just a tad bit. They're out of the spotlight. They still have great players, but I also think, you have up and coming players. Sabrina Ionescu, she didn't make the team. And so I'm sure that was, a reality check for her. But to your point, there's so many talented guards, right, in the league. And while Sabrina is tough, I don't think that she's known as much as a defensive stopper as some of the other guards that they went with.
Yeah, but she's better than Caitlin Clark, so that.
Well, girl, you know that they was not going to let Caitlin not be on another team, right? And
they weren't ready for that smoke,
right? Everybody called hell for the Olympics when she didn't get an opportunity to play in the Olympics. But I think one of the things for me that I don't like about the new eyes on women's sports in general, it's like, these sweatshirts and t-shirts, everybody watches women's sports. And I think for me, there's a little bit of maybe possessiveness around women's sports because I don't like it becoming about more than just the competition. I don't like that casual spectators or new fans don't want to see women really get after it with the same passion and the same physicality as they do their male counterparts. And I think some of that is, obviously steeped in sexism. And so that bothers me. It's like you don't hear people talk about men being put on teams because of their popularity outside of the All-Star game. Like, Jeremy Lin is real popular, Lin Sanity, so he need to, he needs to be on the Olympic team, or he needs to be starting, or all of the, and so it's just a watering down of the league, I think, by some people, that some people just want to see it. And a lot of that is men, right? You hear men say, oh, they should just be glad that, Caitlin is so popular, put her on the team, let her play. And it's like, but y'all wouldn't be doing that for your counterparts. You want them to earn every single thing they get. And so why shouldn't she? Why shouldn't all players, all athletes? That's what sports is about. You put in the work, you perform, you earn it.
Yeah, they don't want to watch those casual fans. They don't want to watch the game. They want to watch a headline. But yeah, the WNBA has a lot of work to do.
They got to clean it up
because that's part of that. They first, and I'll just say this, and then we can go to the next subject. But the WNBA needs to stop letting AI, artificial intelligence, create their schedules. One of the headlines, one of the storylines this weekend was how especially the Aces, they rested some of their starters because they had back-to-backs traveling. It's just ridiculous. Like some teams I mentioned this before the All-Star game. The All-Star game, week was shortened week. If you have 15 teams in the league, you had some teams that had 2 games. You had some teams that had 1 game, and you had some teams that had no games. Like, how does that even happen? Like, the scheduling in this league is terrible. I understand the Aces are the world champions, but to have them on a long road trip. Now, other teams do this too, so I'm not just saying the Aces are the only ones that it happened to, but it's a problem overall. But it was highlighted this weekend because they sat their starters and lost by 40. And Tanaya Latson, is that right? She, had her, but she got her debut, which I was happy to see. But it makes it less competitive when you can't schedule correctly. So WNBA, stop letting AI create your schedules for your league, please.
So did they admit that they let AI do it?
No, I'm saying they let AI schedule. You know how AI makes mistakes, and then
that was funny. I was clutching my invisible pearls. Like, what?
They like, here, AI, make the schedule, and then they don't ever look at it. They just say, okay, we made the schedule, but really it was Claude or ChatGPT, and they just went with it. No, I'm saying it.
Right. But what's funny is, like, for all the nieces and nephews, all the family out there, if you use AI, you better read that. Okay.
Please.
I've had as a boss sometimes read information, and I'm like, did you use AI? Was this AI generated? You know what I'm saying? Even, people submitting things, even outside of work, it's like, did you actually read this? And now people think AI is magic and it's infallible, and it have you out there looking real whack.
Wait a minute. I don't cuss a lot. I have cussed AI out because I said, did you just make this up? He's like, yeah. Oh, what? Like, really? Yeah. Like it was nothing. Yeah, I did. And then Chad starts doing laughing, smiley emojis. This ain't funny. Like,
right. Yeah. This is hilarious. I'm gonna tell this quick story. So, in my work, I'm chairing something, right, for my job and my day job. And so a person who came to me and was asking me a series of questions, and I was like, where these questions come from? Like, they're so off base, you know what I mean? And so their response to me was, well, this is what AI said was happening. And I said, what? I'm like, we went over the timeline, we went over the deliverables, we went over, like, it's a whole committee. So you're coming to me asking me why you haven't been given information, and I was like, we haven't even started the process. And their response to me was, oh, I went to AI and asked AI for an update on what was happening, and this is what AI told me was going on. I was like, do you realize that AI is not all-knowing? AI is not all-knowing. AI is not all-seeing. Why didn't you come to me and ask me?
They don't realize that AI is not.
I was like, what is happening here?
They're like, what you talking about, Willis?
Right.
AI knows everything.
That's why you still come to the person who's chairing this and who's doing the work to ask for an update. So I was so irritated because I'm like, I got to spend time demystifying what AI told you. Girl, go on somewhere. And so people was laughing at her behind her back. And she was a little older. She was a boomer. So to your point, it's like me having to tell my mama, when you watching this stuff on YouTube, this is not all accurate, okay? She'd be like, what you mean? People make up stuff. It's called content. They making up these stories. This is not actually a news channel. This is fake news.
Yeah. Thank goodness. My mother doesn't really watch too much TV anymore. Thank goodness. She'll be.
That's all my mama gonna do is say all day, all night watching shows. I'm watching my shows on YouTube. This is not a show.
She watching podcasts.
Right, whatever, girl. I'm just like, please turn this off. Please turn it off. But
So
I
we got to talk about what you gonna say. I was gonna talk about a Detroit team, our Detroit team. But what were
oh
you gonna
yeah,
say?
yeah, yeah. I mean, I was gonna talk about go ahead, let's talk about Detroit and then we can save the other piece, if we end up having time. But we know at least one good thing, right? The Lions did sign Jahmyr, and I'm so
Yeah,
excited for the season because nobody is outdoing him when it comes to post touchdown celebrations. So I hope
yeah.
that with this new contract we get some more peak choreography. And so that was the good news. But I don't know, do you think the other thing is bad news, or you feel like it's really insignificant?
It highlighted what I was saying, what I've been saying about the Lions. What are they doing this year? Like, what are they doing in the off season? Are they doing enough? So Teddy Bridgewater retired again. So he retired. They brought him back to be the backup behind Jared Goff, who I'm not really, big on him. But but Teddy Bridgewater's 33, and he had a knee injury. I want to say over 10 years ago, and he got another 10 years out of that knee. But he said it just couldn't go anymore. He said my
Mm-hmm.
will couldn't go anymore. And so he retired again. He said this time is for good. And we went and got Josh Dobbs to be the backup. Like, what are we doing? We need a real number two backup. And maybe and I don't think Dobbs is the answer either, but we need injuries happen in football, all the time, much more than I think than any other sport.
Mm-hmm.
And that not having a solid number two backup on our roster is worrying me. I like how the rest of the team is coming together. I like what I'm seeing. I just have to see it translate on the field. But I'm more concerned about our quarterback and our offense. Offensive production.
Yeah.
So ever since what's his name, Ben Johnson, is it Ben Johnson,
Yeah, yeah.
left, our offensive firepower changed.
Mm-hmm.
We had an offensive coordinator who didn't even make it through the season before Dan Campbell started calling plays, and
Yeah.
it kind of went downhill. So I'm always worried about the offense. I'm worried about the defense too, but I worry about the offense. We got to score points. We have good offensive pieces, and I don't want them to go to waste. So I just want to
Yeah.
see what they're putting together. It didn't help having Terrion Arnold in the headlines, during the off season and finally getting cut. He's visited. They've talked about him visiting a couple of teams, including the Seahawks, who look like they're about to repeat. But we'll see. It'll be interesting. I like. I gotta mention, and we'll come back to Detroit, but I gotta mention that Shedeur Sanders is looking like he should be the starter in Cleveland. So we'll see. I know you don't like talking about Cleveland, but I like talking about Shedeur as an
Yeah.
auntie, and the CU aunties. I'm a DET auntie, Detroit auntie. So
No, I mean, I think every year I feel like the Detroit has a love-hate relationship with Jared Goff. So funny. I was at a conference. I was talking to one of my girls who is, again, like you, a diehard Lions fan, and she was like, "Ooh, you need to bring me on your podcast and talk about the Lions because I do not like Jared Goff."
oh, what's
And
her
so
name?
I
Let's call. She could be on the next episode. Come on, let's talk because I don't either. I don't
need to
like.
have her. We need to have her call in. And so, I don't. I mean, I don't know. I feel like Matt Stafford, again, love hate relationship. People really like Matt Stafford. They didn't like his wife, but it's
I didn't like
obvious,
him.
right? Well, but I mean, I think people liked Matt Stafford more than Jared Goff. I think.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
they had more faith and trust, I think, in his athletic ability and in his arm, right?
yeah, yeah.
I think Detroit, to your point, needs another quarterback who can challenge Jared Goff for that starting spot. I think that is what's best for the team. But I do think sometimes coaches, front office kind of fall in love with a guy, you know what I'm saying? And then they don't make maybe the best decision for the team. And they're just going to ride it out, right, with that player come hell or high water. And I think, like you said, we have a window. And I would love to see the Lions have the issue that the Browns have right now, right? Where you have
and that's why I brought them up.
Yeah, that's what we need, right? We need a competitive, at least, because they had 3 quarterbacks last year, right? Or 2, and then everybody, Deshaun. I don't even like mentioning his name, but you got 3 talented quarterbacks who are vying for playing time. I love Shedeur. I would have loved to have Shedeur in Detroit. Okay, Detroit would have been up. You hear me?
Right. Right.
But we need that type of competition in order to get back where we were. I feel like, I don't know, maybe the front office was happy with how far we got, and I just don't see them retooling fast enough to get us back there. That's just my take. You know more than I do, but I don't think it's happening this year. But look, the Aunties gonna be cute though when the game starts. The Detroit Aunties.
I got my Jahmyr Gibbs shirt on right now.
That's what I'm saying.
That's my boy.
Right.
Getting the gear together. But yes, I love Detroit sports. We said it last week. I'll say it again. I know Indiana, they think they're a sports state. They think they're the best sports state. No. Sports. Detroit,
Indiana,
Michigan, Indiana. They because they got Caitlin Clarkson now, they think they're the best, at sports, But that was a joke. Detroit is arguably the best sports city in the country. We're not as big as, New York and California as far as, people, but I will bet my money on Detroit every time as the best city for sports in the country. And I'm not just saying that because I'm here. I'm saying that because I've witnessed it and argued with your mama.
Yeah, for the passion, for the grit, for the commitment, winning, losing, Detroit is going to show up for its teams. It reminds me of and this I think is a good kind of transition. It's like Detroit fans put their heart and soul into the teams, right? They're gonna show up, they're gonna support, and I think that's what fans want to see, right? Is that you're putting a good product on the court or on the field, and that your players are giving effort, right, for your money. Because now tickets is expensive. I just bought the tickets for the girls to go see the Wings play the Fever. Those tickets was like $200 a piece. I was like, so these tickets are getting more and more expensive. And so
I might be going with y'all.
Well, I'm not going. They're going with their dad this weekend.
Right.
But I was laughing, and it reminded me of what happened last year with the Kings. And so it was a super fan in Sacramento who got all up in Zach LaVine's behind. Like, dude, you ain't giving your full effort. You ain't giving your full effort. And so my question is, given the size of the contracts, given the fact that now we have NIL, we have all of this money flooding into sports, whether it's at the collegiate level and now at the high school level, you have players with their NIL deals being made millionaires. Has it taken away some of the love for the game and some of the incentive to actually go out there and play hard and produce at a high level? Yeah. Do you think so? Do you think it's taking something away?
It's bound to. But the reason I don't like NIL is because it came in unstructured, and they're trying to create the plane, make the plane while it's flying or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And it got out of control really, really quickly. And if you bring something that major in with no structure across the whole, landscape, there's not going to be parity. There's going to be and the effort, like you said, you were saying the effort is not there because of NIL. Is
Well,
that
I
what
was
you're?
just thinking, so over the past week, there's been a lot of specifically NBA players like Lonzo Ball was talking about how, growing up, him and his brothers, they were so competitive. All they wanted to do was win, right? Like they couldn't stomach a loss. And he was saying that he was shocked when he got to the NBA that players didn't really care if they won or lost, right? Because the season was
Oh
so
man.
long, they would lose a game. He was like, people would be coming back to the locker room, cracking up, laughing, joking, high fiving one another. You have John Wall, who was just talking about, him and his AAU team, and seeing players who are only averaging 2 or 3 points sign NIL deals for a couple $1,000,000, and they're not putting in the time training to really, get on the court and to produce. You have Lance Stevenson also talking about after he signed his deal with Charlotte for 27 million, he was like, I was outside. I wasn't putting in the work, to ensure that my game would continue to improve as I got that bigger contract. So he said it. He was like, I got complacent. And he was like, I wish that I would have continued to work on my game, be disciplined. And now he's out of the league. So it's like I think the aunties want players, especially players of color, black folks, to get paid. So I don't want nobody coming for us in the comments. We do want people to get paid, but it's like at a certain point, does it take the fire away from it? Because so many players look to professional sports for the money, for the wealth building opportunities to be able to provide for your family financially. And once you get that, what's the incentive? It has to be pride, right?
Well, I think I think the issue is that you're giving teenagers and very, very young people millions of dollars that changes not only their lives, but their whole
Mm-hmm.
family's lives, the whole, old bloodline's lives. And they don't, and they have all kinds of seminars and classes, but at 18, 19, 20, 21, 20, what are you really learning? Like,
Yeah,
that I think the big issue is you get giving that amount of money to very young, underdeveloped brains anyway.
that's true.
Um, and so there's nothing good that I wouldn't expect anything other than what is happening.
What's happening?
But
Yeah.
like you said, Lance Stevenson, of course they look back and say, dang, I should have done that. I remember when Mike Vick was playing for Atlanta and he didn't read the playbooks. But then he went to, was it Philadelphia? Where did he go? And
Mm-hmm.
he started reading the playbooks and he played a lot better. You have to be ready to
Yeah.
play. So I don't know
Maturity.
if I don't think the money makes them not play. It's just they're guaranteed all this money whether they play or not. So it's like we got 82 games. We lost a game. I'm not gonna cry. I'm just gonna go out the next game and try to do better. They may play better. They may not. But I don't think. I mean, I think that's you're going to have that issue, and you could debate it in either way. I don't think it because there are some players that are
Uh,
contrarian or just the opposite of that who get that money and they're just fine.
wait
So
1 minute. Wait 1 second. Hold on.
you're on mute.
Was saying the intern is about to get fired.
So
but
yeah, I know we got to wrap up anyway, but yeah, it's that you can look at it both ways. I think the issue is that you're making multimillionaires out of high school graduates, especially with the NIL. I'm sorry, I misunderstood the original question,
oh yeah, I mean, like you
but yeah.
said, people's brains aren't fully formed. What I love about sports is like all of the content that you can find and see online, and some of my favorite content is now where they're actually professional athletes, what did they spend like their first $1 million on.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love watching those interviews because you see, to your point, maybe a different level of maturity with some players. But I think one of the threads is a lot of players, right, are making sure their parents are good, making sure their family is good. Jalen Hurts talked about paying for his sister's tuition, right, with his first
Yeah.
million. Buying a
Yeah.
car that their dad or their mom always wanted. And so
Yeah.
I think a lot about that in my 20s. It's like, what would I spend my first million on? You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So you're right. It is a lot of money, but also a lot of responsibility. And I think the other thing, your taste level changes. I saw clips online of LaMelo Ball's home in Charlotte. And I was like, no wonder he hyped everything in the house was a fluorescent color, graffiti all
Yeah.
on the wall, flashing lights. And I think, again, as he gets older, he's probably gonna look back on that and be like, wow. You know what I mean? And maybe people don't understand color science and all of that, but it's like your home should be a place of solace and relaxation, and colors do have something to do with that. And so all your fluorescent coloring, these bright lights, pinball machines, it just looked like a carnival, like he living inside a carnival. And to your
But look
point,
at
I'm like,
his family. His family is like, look, he got LeVar Ball as his father.
I
You
mean,
know,
yeah,
they have nothing calm. But I like the Jalen Hurts one because he set aside the money. He said, I don't know if she's going to college or not, but if she does, it's here. He didn't say
yeah.
if she don't go to college, I'm taking that. He didn't say that. So I like that line. But yeah, it's been good. It's been good to catch up this week. I'm glad you're back. I want to know from the fans, what's your favorite sports city? Who has the best sports city? I'm gonna say it's Detroit. Come on, debate me in the comments. That's what I want. Come
Well,
debate me in the comments.
you know what I'm about to say. New York. I'm gonna give it to New York after this NBA
Nah.
championship. I'm just saying.
Oh
I'm just saying.
gosh. I'm gonna move you to. You need to move to New York because you keep bringing them up. They don't won their first championship since I was born, and now you want to talk about them every. No, no.
I'm an I'm an urban planner by training. So to me, what I saw and I'm gonna blend these two things together. I think, and I always watch the championship parades, but to me, the Knicks championship parade was iconic. The images, the way people took over the streets, the way people took over the buildings to celebrate, that's iconic. That's iconic. The way people flooded the streets from all of the boroughs to come down. So that's why I said New York, but I knew you was gonna laugh. But I don't know. I wanted to move to New York right out of college, and I wasn't able to do it. But
So
you
Detroit, Pistons, Lions. Please, can y'all win so that we can get another parade and show KB how it's really done? They
but
can come from Birmingham. They can come from.
it's
I'm
not
coming
gonna
from
be the
Southfield.
same.
Come.
It's not gonna it's just
Yes,
not
it
gonna
will. It's
it's not.
because we don't have those five boroughs. It's because we're a Midwest team. That's why we're the best. We are loyal. We hold the owners
Yes,
accountable.
yes,
We
yes.
are not letting you put out no raggedy teams, no raggedy ass teams out here as an owner. We're
I will give
Detroit.
that.
If you put a good team out there, we will ride with you till the wheels fall off. And the wheels always fall off in Detroit. But we are the Motor City and we put the wheels back on for you.
That's
So
true.
Detroit is the best sports city in the country. Argue with your mama and
But
and
wait,
I want to debate with y'all in the comments about this one.
the
Tell
best
me,
sports
what
city.
city are you in? What's the best sports city?
But you gonna laugh though because the Knicks do have a chokehold on me. Yesterday I was walking
I
around like
see.
this. Look, I was walking around like this. My youngest was like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "That's just my little celebration." Like that's my
Boy, oh boy.
that's my celebration. Something good happened.
So
I'm walking
so
around the house.
so you might be crying. You might be crying this year because LeBron James is in Philly, and so we're
I'm
gonna
not
see
saying
about that.
but you see where he's living. He's living in New York. New York is one of the greatest cities in the world. So he didn't live in Philly. He living in New York and he gonna be taking the helicopter over to Philly. But
That's what they said. That's what they say. We he might. He might.
but
We're
yes,
gonna see.
that was hilarious. I was like, what am I doing? And so Karis was like, are you really walking around here doing the Jalen Brunson Sally? And I was like, I am.
Embarrassing the babies. But hey, we're gonna end it there. Thank you all for tuning in to Aunties Talk Sports. They be tearing us up in these comments. We need y'all to come and help a girl out, help the aunties out. But until next week, it's Aunties Talk Sports, 2 aunties, 2 mics, all game. Peace.
Peace.
Thanks again for spending some time with us. This has been another episode of Aunties Talk Sports. If you enjoyed today's conversation, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share the show with your fellow sports fans. It really helps us grow our community. Have a question, a hot take, or a topic you'd like us to cover? We would love to hear from you. Email us at auntiestalksports@gmail.com or connect with us on social media at Aunties Talk Sports. Aunties Talk Sports is a podcast hosted by Jennifer Bright and KB Gaston. Find us on socials at jbright713 and at KB Gaston. Aunties Talk Sports is recorded in Detroit and produced by Danerco at Danerco on socials. Thanks again for listening. Until next time, 2 aunties, 2 mics, all game.